As I predicted, the two top films were friendly films for the 4th of July weekend. So we will find out who won the battle. Plus, we have another one coming up this weekend, and we have another Evil Dead movie. So let's go.
Fucking go! Let's fucking go. Whoa. Here I come. Oh, here I come.
We will watch your career with great interest.
You are such a cute.
This is where the fun begins.
It's showtime.
And here we go.
Welcome into another episode of the Movie Geek Podcast. I'm your host, George T., and this is the weekend box office report. And we'll look ahead to what is coming out. And I will also have a review of the number 3 movie, Young Washington. So stay tuned for that. All right, as I predicted last weekend, the two kids' movies were going to dominate, and they certainly did. But which one finished number 1? As I thought, it went the way I thought. So let's go. Number 5 was Disclosure Day at 6 million. This movie has just fallen off the rails. Sorry, Spielberg. I know you're making another movie soon. Hopefully that one will be better. Then we get number 4, number 2 last week, Supergirl at 8.6. Bomb, bomb, bomb. Young Washington, as I said before, finished third at 20.8 million. And then last week's number 1, or 2 weeks in a row, number 1, Toy Story 5 finishes second at 31 million. And Minions and Monsters finishes at 36.4. Now, you may say, well, that's kind of a low number um, for a dominating win at the box office. Well, it is 4th of July weekend. So, movie going, you're not going to see $80 million movies, $1 million movies, or 160 unless it's big. Like if the Odyssey had opened on 4th of July weekend, that would have done huge numbers. It will do huge numbers in a couple weeks, but as far as what we saw, Minions, Toy Story, you got 67 million between the two kids movies. So that is the top 5. It was Disclosure Day at 6 million, Supergirl at 8.6, Young Washington 20.8, Toy Story 5 31 million, and Minions and Monsters 36.4. All right, looking ahead to the weekend, we've got two documentaries. One is about remakes, and another one is called Mockbuster. So there was not much made about or described for the remake documentary, but what I saw from the clips, it talks about what goes into making a remake and so on. So it looks fascinating. So it'll be a documentary I will check out at some point. Mockbuster is a struggling director documents his journey making a mockbuster in 6 days, descending into the chaotic world of low-budget filmmaking. So this is obviously told from a guy who has struggled to, make a big blockbuster, and instead it's a low-budget film, and calling it a mockbuster. It's fine to call it whatever it is. Low-budget films right now are making money. Have we talked about Obsession enough? Have we? I don't think so. By the way, Obsession now over 400 million worldwide on a $750,000 budget. That is absolutely crazy, and I cannot wait to get the DVD release. Hopefully, it will have the unrated version or the director's cut or whatever they're calling it. with the extra added footage, which um, is basically like a few scenes that they want to extend. So hopefully that'll be coming out very soon. I know there's a tentative release for. So I had mentioned this last week about that. There was supposedly their window was July 14th for DVDs release or Blu-ray release. But because of the success of the film, will they actually just put the film out, or are they going to hold it off and wait until they add the extras to it? I don't know. We'll see. All right. Then we've got Reading La, La Toya in Tehran, a memoir in books and a nonfiction book by Iranian author and academic Azar Nasser, published in 2003. This is based on her own experiences while teaching English literature at the University of Tehran during the Iranian Revolution. So, um, obviously, as, as it said in the title, is a work uh, in a nonfiction book. It's pretty good. Um, it looks more on the documentary side um, than just a regular film, so it'll definitely be something to check out. Then we've got a movie called Night Nurse. As a series of perverse scam calls unsettles an ideologic retirement community. I don't know why that's there, but a starry-eyed nurse becomes entangled with a mysterious patient. Interesting. Looks pretty interesting. Then we got a Chinese film called Crossing. Mao Zedong leads the Red Army crossing the uh, Cheshi River 4 times, creating a classic example of warfare in the history of war and a elite legend of guerrilla warfare. Um, Looks very interesting and definitely worth a look. A movie that I had on my list, my top 5 list for the month of July. And I know it's kind of an odd film, but also think Schitt's Creek, which are two, was just an amazing show. But there were some other movies that I wanted to, that I went back and forth on, but this one I settled on. When her fiance uses their celebrity pass agreements, Midwest bride Gail Daughtry travels to Hollywood seeking revenge by pursuing her own celebrity encounter by wanting to sleep with John Hamm. This is a wild ride, and it looks hilarious, and I'm hoping it will be good. I will definitely see this movie this weekend and have a review for you before I go see The Odyssey next week. All right, 2 more films. Evil Dead Burn. I've not really gotten into the Evil Dead stuff, so if you have been following along with the Evil Dead series, Burn is the next one, and then they've got another one coming out next year, I believe. After the loss of her husband, a grieving woman seeks solace with her in-laws at their secluded family home. However, it soon becomes a reunion from hell as the Book of the Undead unleashes demonic forces that transform them into deities one by one. So again, I haven't really gotten into the Evil Dead series, not since the early Evil Dead series with Bruce Campbell. So, will it do money? Probably. There's a good fan base out there for Evil Dead, just not in my wheelhouse. So, if you're an Evil Dead fan, this will be for you, especially if you liked the previous installment. And then finally, we've got the live action version of Moana. This stars The Rock as um, as he was in the animated version. Leaving her island for the first time, young Moana embarks on an epic seafaring adventure to restore prosperity to her people. So basically, this is another one of those DreamWorks where they get it right. We saw with How to Train Your Dragon that uh, basically take the animated film and make it live action, and it pops. Moana looks exactly like the animated version, so I think it's going to pop. Something that Disney should really, really, really try to focus on when they redo theirs, because we've seen how that works, i.e., Snow White or Little Mermaid, for instance. Although Snow White did not win a whole lot of Razzies last year, um, which I'll be voting for this year, the Razzies, because I got a movie I want to put on there because I can't stand it. But Moana looks like a good one. Now, will Moana challenge Minions and Monsters in Toy Story 5? Of course it will. Um, will it be number one? Probably. Um, I've heard I've heard things about Minions and Monsters, so I don't pretend to think it's going to be up there too much longer as number one. And then, of course, we know what's coming next week, which is the Odyssey, which is going to blow anything that's number one out of the water. So right now, if I had my guess um, at the box office, it would probably be Moana, uh, Minions, Monsters, Toy Story 5, Young Washington, and probably Evil Dead Burn would be your top five next week. And I wouldn't be surprised if I'm right. Um, but after that, you probably get 2 weeks of Disclosure Day. I mean, the Odyssey. Sorry, I was looking right at Disclosure Day when I said that. Um, the Odyssey, and then um, Spider-Man is coming out 2 weeks after that. So it's gonna be crazy. So here is my review of Young Washington. I was looking forward to this movie from the time I saw the trailer, and I was not disappointed. And I kind of knew that it wasn't going to touch on his political side. It was more about obviously the younger version of him. And so what you see in this film is a 2 year period when he is 22, between 1753 and 1755, during the French and Indian War. He, as a kid, idolized his brother who uh, got into the military, and he was trying to figure out how to get into the military. He did a bunch of little, um, you know, little things to try to get his way in. And then one night broke into a party that his brother was at, pretending to be, uh, you know, a guardsman and stuff. And he started talking to a bunch of the officers, um, including Kelsey Grammer, who was Lord Thomas Fairfax in this movie. Um, and he convinced him that he would be ready to fight for the British in this one. So the story, basically, he wants to go and fight alongside his brother. He cons his way into becoming one of the leaders of a regiment, but then uh, comes face to face with some of the Indians while they go and try to broker peace with the French. So he um, was sent out by uh, the governor, Robert Whittle, played by Sir Ben Kingsley, to tell the French politely to move their move off their land, or they were going to face annihilation. So there's a whole scene where he is in the fort with the Indians and the French leader, and he basically just laughs at him and walks out. He sends word back that they're not going to leave. Then they make it a critical error. They trusted the wrong pack of Indians. The Indians noticed that they were moving in to build a fort so that when the reinforcements, the actual brigades were going to come in, could attack the French. And unfortunately, he made a catastrophic mistake that inherently triggers a global conflict, and all hell breaks loose. He loses his brother in the conflict. Um, so, facing military defeat, personal tragedy, and severe hardship in the wild Ohio territory, he goes back to Dunwoody Whittle and gives his resignation. He goes back to his mother's farm, played by Mary Louise Parker, and he talks to a few people while he's there and decides to go back out and, want to fight again. This time, he runs into British General Edward Braddock, and he was played by Andy Serkis. He said he did not want his post back, but he wanted to help out in any way he could. Braddock kind of dismisses him, obviously because he failed earlier in the negotiations, and then his regiment was almost killed and suffering defeat. But he had Washington had told him, "I have insight as to how they think and how they act, and so on." And Braddock is like, "No, I've fought all over the world and have won many battles. I don't really need the help, but we'll look into it," and kind of goes through it and stuff. And then, of course, Braddock walks right into a trap and is killed. Washington takes over, and they wind up defeating the French in that war, and that's kind of how it ends, with him being in charge. And then, of course, we all know what happened after that. So I thought it was a really good film. It's right up there with, as far as action is concerned, as far as The Patriot. If you remember the Mel Gibson one back then, obviously The Patriot wasn't, historically accurate, but it reminded me of The Patriot. So I would definitely give this a 1 thumbs up. Again, a lot of interpretation. When you do these, real event kind of movies, obviously you take some liberties. There was a couple of things that I just kind of like, did that really happen? Like, so on. But I mean, that happens. But yeah, I think this is a great film, and you should definitely take a look at it. I don't remember if I reviewed Pressure or not, but there's another one about D-Day. Brendan Fraser plays in that one, so I probably should have reviewed it with this one. But if you're looking for two, historic films that have some or a lot of accuracy to them, these are your two. All right, that is all for now. So I will see you all at the movies.
You like that, baby? Let him know where I came from, yeah!
See you next time. Bye.
Waiting for you. Goodbye. Goodbye. Bye. Goodbye. Hasta la vista, baby.
That's all, folks.